Have you ever sorely misjudged a knife that you saw online only to get it in hand and realize that mistakes were made? How's it going, everybody? I'm Rollshambo, the connoisseur and collector of all things sharp and shiny. And if you answered that with a yes, I'm going to need you to go on down to the comment section and let me know which knife it was. And while you're down there, if you could also high five the like button, I would definitely appreciate that. Today, we're talking about the Tempest Knives Pinion, designed by Casey from KnivesFast and lent to me by channel member, supporter, and longtime viewer Matthew Russell. Matt, thank you for making this possible. Now, I'm really excited about talking about this knife specifically because it was designed by someone who also makes content around the EDC community. You see, manufacturers often think first about the dollars and cents, which means that many things that we as knife enthusiasts care about often get left in the dark. And we don't see the light of day with the things we care about, things like pocket clips, ergonomics, fidget factor, deployment, so on and so forth. But KnivesFast has their finger on the pulse. How well? Today we find out. All right, so let's talk about the Tempest Knives Pinion. And for the sake of those who don't like unboxings, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time unboxing this, but I do want to show what's in the box for those who are interested. The knife comes in this plastic pouch. Nothing too fancy. I'm okay with that. We don't have to have a felt pouch for everything. And then, of course, you get... Wow, that was a miss. Then, of course, you get this thank you card from Tempest Knives that says we stand behind our products, see full warranty on our website. Sweet. Okay. So let's put that to the side for now. Again, I do want to mention for anybody who skipped the intro, this is not a review unit. This is a knife that was lent to me by a viewer, Matthew Russell. Shout out again to him. Absolutely stoked to be able to check out the Tempest Knives Pinion. Now, I do want to preface by saying that I originally didn't get a Pinion because I thought the blade shape was just a little too weird for me, and it just wasn't for me. I wasn't digging the pictures online, and for those reasons, I passed on it. And that's too bad, because I'll tell you what, this knife has all the elements that you'd want out of a good EDC knife. And I didn't just get the box in today, so I've actually had the opportunity to carry this and to hold it and to fidget with it. And guys, I'm actually really digging this knife. Before we get too in depth, let's go ahead and talk about the specs real quick, and I'll put them up on the screen for anybody who just wants to pause, check it, and then skip ahead. Overall length, we're looking at 7 3/4. We've got a blade length of 3.4 inches. Its material is 14C28N on the blade, and then of course it does have blue G10 handle scales. It's going to come in at about 3.7 ounces, and it was made by Kubi in China, who is the OEM. As far as the blade shape goes, if you're wondering, this is what they call a modified sheep's foot. On his site, Casey calls this the drop sheep, which I think is pretty entertaining. It has one deployment style, and that is this fuller / deployment hole. I gotta say right away, huge fan of that. Middle finger flicking, spidey flicking is my favorite way to deploy a knife, period. Let me know in the comment section down below, what's your favorite way to deploy a knife? Do you like thumb studs, flipper tabs? You know, what's your flavor? On the back here, we do get a wire clip, and of course it is a single-sided captive pivot. Hallelujah. Gotta love that. I know I'm a big fan of it. It is, of course, a liner lock, and for the lockup, we're looking at about, we'll call that a good 50%. It's a pretty solid lockup, and it doesn't matter if you slowly pull it out, it's going to lock up, and it doesn't matter if you kapow, it's going to lock up, and it locks up in the same spot every time. The consistency of where and how it locks up is actually really important on liner locks. As far as blade centering is concerned, it is bang on in the center. You know, nothing too crazy there with the blade centering, but it's definitely centered. You do get this matching G10 backspacer, which is cool. And then of course, for you lefties, they were thinking of you because you can flip this wire clip around. Now, time to do a few comparisons. First up, let's put it up against a Spyderco Shaman just for fun. I never see people compare knives to a Shaman, but it is a popular Spyderco knife, and so it's worth comparison. That's what it looks like up against a large Spyderco Shaman, and here it is against the ephemeral Spyderco Paramilitary 2, aka the PM2. As you can see, a lot closer to that PM2. We'll get this guy out of there. And now how about up against my highly customized Spyderco Para 3. So as you can see, quite a bit longer than the Para 3, right around the same dimensions, very close rather to the Spyderco PM2, maybe a tiny bit shorter. I like showing this off against a Spyderco because Spydercos are also knives that have really eclectic blade shapes. In fact, when I first got into knives, I thought Spydercos were ugly, and my opinions changed a whole lot. So be that as it may, let's go ahead and check out carry profile in the pocket. How's it going to feel? Is it very thick? How's it compare? So it's a tiny bit thicker than this PM2. The PM2 and Para 3 are almost identical in handle scale thickness, and they're both G10. Now, unlike the G10 on a Spyderco, the G10 on this Tempest Pinion is smooth and polished, and it almost has this wood grain type of finish, which actually feels really good. This feels very similar to how the G10 on a petrified fish feels, and maybe Kubi does the knives for them too. I'm not sure, honestly. I haven't looked into it, but it feels really good. And despite the fact that it's not super grippy, I don't necessarily feel like it lacks for grip in the ergonomics department. But since we're on the topic, let's talk about that. You do get I have a hard time calling this a finger cutout, but it is definitely a spot to put your finger. Now, there's no jimping here on the back, and for us users, I'm going to say that, you know what, in a use case scenario, I'd prefer jimping. But with that being said, before everyone gives me their sighs of disgust and saying,
you don't need jimping on every knife,
I can kind of agree with that depending upon the lock type. And here's what I mean. A liner lock means that your knife is going to be meant for regular everyday cutting tasks. I'm not talking about hardcore heavy duty batoning with your knife, you know, out there feather sticking to, you know, build a fire type of activities. I'm talking about cutting down boxes, opening groceries, cutting through bags, cutting loose strings, the stuff that 99% of us use our knives for. If you're in one of the 1% who actually uses their knives and batons with their pocket knife, hit the like button because you, my friend, are a rare breed. So because of the use case scenario, even though I would have liked to have seen some jimping, even just a cursory amount, I'm not super mad at it because I can see how jimping would interrupt the design flow. That being said, I would have rather preferred to see a little bit of jimping right here to here or here to here to really say, I understand that this is going to be where you're going to hold the knife. Because as well knocked down and polished as this is, my thumb is, you know, slipping all over the place. So I think that we sacrifice jimping for design language. And for this specific knife, I'm actually okay with that. Let's talk about the pocket clip, and we're talking about the pocket clip because pocket clips do affect ergonomics. It's not a hidden fact, but pocket clips will almost always interrupt how the knife feels in your hand because it'll feel better without a clip, guaranteed. If you don't know what I mean, take your pocket clip off your knife, put it in your hand, and tell me that doesn't feel a million times better. So the best a pocket clip can do is at least not get in the way. Well, because it's a wire clip, the edges of the clip itself are rounded, and so that means that it's going to have a pretty decent feel in the hand. It's not that you don't feel the clip, it's just that it's not digging into your hand. The pocket clip being reversible is also a good thing. Now here's what I don't necessarily like. I feel like wire pocket clips look like paper clips. I said it, you know, and I'm not saying that they're any better or worse than stamped pocket clips. I actually put them in the same realm. Now you can replace this clip, and it does say on the Tempest Knives website that you can use the Lynch Northwest Spyderco wire replacement, which puts a more regular titanium stamped clip that just fits in to this wire spot. And those are like 20 bucks, right? So that's not necessarily a huge expenditure to get a clip if you don't like wire clips. And I personally, I don't like wire clips, but clips are really a personal preference kind of thing. What I like about stamped clips is that it's pretty easy to find replacements for stamped clips. And because most screw pattern designs are the same or close, you can get a lot of different clips to fit. But with a wire clip, you're going to be basically stuck with Lynch Northwest or other obscure brand who sells a wire clip to regular clip replacement, or just another wire clip. Now, if you'll see, that is kind of a spoon. I call it like the spoon duckbill shape. I would have preferred if it was a ramp down into a ski jump. The whole, drop in and then flatten over. That's not really my jam. Now, does it affect how it fits in the pocket? Absolutely not. It fits well in the pocket. That's just my personal preference because they tend to feel better in the hand, meaning I don't really feel them as much when they taper down and then go off into a ski jump. I do feel it in my hand, and it doesn't feel bad. It is most definitely not a hot spot, but I prefer not to feel it at all. Let's talk about things like the detent. Man, it does not take a whole lot to deploy this thing. It deploys smoothly and easily, and the action feels great. I talk about fidget factor in my grail or garbage ranking videos all the time because fidget factor encompasses a lot of different things. We got to talk about the pivot. We got to talk about the detent. We got to talk about, how does it sound? And all of those are pretty dang good. This knife is extremely fidgety, and you want your EDC knives to be fidgety because that means that they've got a crisp detent. It means they've got a smooth action, and I don't feel like I'm forced to choose between deployment methods. This is a dedicated fuller flipper knife. Frick yeah, and I love that. I think that is absolutely fantastic. Good job. This is something that is really easy and intuitive to fidget with, to open, to close. And I suggest that everyone fidget with their knife at least a little bit so that they can get used to how it feels in the hand, and so they can articulate with it better, and it's just a more natural feel when you fidget with your knives. The blade shape looks so much better in person than it ever did in pictures, and listen, I love reversed tantos, and this is very close to a sheep's foot reversed tanto. The more I look at the blade, the more I'm reminded about the fact that it's really easy to judge a knife by its blade profile online, but it's completely different to get a feel for it in hand. And now that I have it in hand, I'm actually rather impressed. I'm honestly, I think that this is a phenomenal looking knife. My biggest gripe with it, aesthetically speaking, is that I don't like wire pocket clips, but that's really a point of personal preference. Now, I've been doing a lot of talking, but I haven't mentioned how much this costs. Well, the Tempest Knives Pinion comes in at about $82. 82 bucks, and with a production quality like this, I definitely think that it's well worth it. $82 is just outside of the 70 and under range, which is what I would consider budget, but it is in the highly attainable range. If you can only afford, I'll put it to you like this: if you can only afford a $40 knife based on your disposable income this month, don't buy a knife this month. Save your money, wait till next month, get another $40 and buy this, because this is much better than most budget knives that I've encountered, and it doesn't have, like, it feels premium, but it's not what I would consider a premium price tag, especially now that I know that you can put a Lynch Northwest pocket clip on there. Absolutely. 20 bucks for that, call it $100 total. Man, this is phenomenal. This is absolutely a knife that I think deserves some more attention, and I definitely wanted to talk about it. If you haven't checked out the KnivesFast channel yet, which if you watch mine, chances are you have, but if you haven't, go ahead and check them out on YouTube. Casey from KnivesFast does some great videos, really nice guy, very interactive with the community, and he's just a cornerstone, a pillar, if you will, of the knife community. So make sure to check him out if you haven't done so already. Guys, that's all I got for you today. Let me know in the comments section down below. Did you buy a Pinion? Have you looked at them? What are your thoughts? I'm really interested in hearing them. If you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, boo-hoo, there's a button for you too. And if you want to see the Grail or Garbage ranking for the Tempest Knives Pinion, make sure you hit subscribe. I'm Rollshambo. I'll catch you on the flip side.